If you walk into a noodle shop in Tokyo, you are usually faced with a choice. You already know ramen, the rich, heavy, rebellious bowl of comfort. You know udon, the thick, chewy, warm embrace of wheat. But then there is the third noodle. Thinner, darker, earthier, served sometimes freezing cold on a bamboo mat, and sometimes steaming hot in a dark broth. Most people outside of Japan have heard of soba. They might have even eaten it. But very few people understand what soba actually is. Because soba isn't just another variation of wheat dough. It is a completely different plant, a completely different culinary logic, and a craft so frustratingly difficult that masters spend decades learning how to add water to flour without ruining it. Welcome to Food Decoded. Today we are looking at soba, what it is, where it comes from, and why understanding this simple speckled noodle changes everything you know about Japanese food. Let's start with the most important distinction. When we talk about pasta, ramen, or udon, we are talking about wheat. Wheat contains gluten, and gluten is culinary magic. It is the elastic protein net that makes dough stretchy, bouncy, and forgiving. But soba is not built on wheat. Soba is built on buckwheat. Despite its name, buckwheat is not a type of wheat at all. It is not even a grass. It is a seed related to rhubarb and sorrel. And crucially, buckwheat contains 0 gluten. This is where the trouble begins. If you grind buckwheat into flour and add water, you don't get a stretchy dough. You get wet sand. It crumbles. It breaks. It refuses to hold together. Making a noodle out of 100% buckwheat is a fight against nature. It requires immense physical strength, precise temperature control, and a feel for hydration that borders on intuition. Because it is so incredibly difficult to work with, noodle makers centuries ago came up with a compromise. They introduced a small amount of regular wheat flour into the mix, just to give the dough enough gluten to hold together. This created the golden ratio of soba, 80% buckwheat and 20% wheat flour. In Japanese, this is called Ni-hachi. Ni meaning 2 and hachi meaning 8. To this day, Ni-hachi is considered the standard of excellence for soba. It provides the deep, nutty, earthy aroma of the buckwheat, but with a smooth enough texture to slide easily down your throat. There is 100% buckwheat soba, called juwari, but it is highly specialized, slightly brittle, and prized for its intense rustic flavor. But the flour is only half the story. The real secret of soba is the craft. If you watch a true soba master at work, it doesn't look like cooking. It looks like martial arts. The process starts in a large, lacquered wooden bowl. The master adds the flour and then slowly introduces the water. Because buckwheat has no gluten to act as a safety net, the amount of water must be calculated down to the millimeter. A humid, rainy day requires less water. A dry, crisp winter day requires more. If the master gets it wrong by even a few drops, the dough is ruined. Using only their fingertips, the master tosses the flour, gradually forming tiny pebbles of dough, then larger clumps, until it is kneaded into a smooth, heavy disc. Then comes the rolling. Using a series of long wooden dowels, the dough is rolled out into a massive paper-thin square. Not a circle, a square. Finally, the cutting. Unlike udon, which is thick and chewy, soba is delicate. It is folded and cut by hand using a heavy, specialized cleaver called a soba-kiri. The blade falls in a rhythmic, hypnotic motion. Chop, slide, creating hundreds of perfectly uniform, thin noodles. But once the noodle is made, how do you eat it? If you want to truly judge the quality of soba, you do not eat it in hot soup. You eat it cold. This is known as mori soba or zaru soba, served chilled on a bamboo tray. Why cold? Because hot broth destroys the delicate aroma of the buckwheat. When the noodles are boiled, they are immediately shocked in ice water. This halts the cooking process, tightens the surface of the noodle, and locks in the earthy, nutty scent. To eat it, you don't drench it in sauce. You are given a small cup of tsuyu, a dipping sauce made from soy sauce, mirin, and dashi broth. The rule of the soba purist is simple. You pick up a small bundle of noodles, you dip only the bottom third of the noodles into the tsuyu, and then you slurp. The slurping is not bad manners, it is mechanics. By drawing in air along with the noodles, you atomize the aroma of the buckwheat and the smokiness of the dashi in the back of your throat. It is exactly the same principle as aerating a glass of fine wine. If you dip the whole noodle into the sauce, the soy sauce overpowers the delicate buckwheat. The goal is contrast, the pure, naked flavor of the noodle on top and the sharp, savory hit of the tsuyu on the bottom. Of course, soba is also eaten hot, especially in winter. Kake soba is served in a steaming bowl of dashi-based broth. It is deeply comforting. But remember, the hot broth will slowly turn the noodles soft. So hot soba is a race against time. You must eat it quickly before the texture is lost. And this brings us to the twist. Because when we talk about soba today, we imagine quiet, zen-like restaurants and elevated culinary craft. But the reality of soba is completely different. Soba is actually Tokyo's original fast food. During the Edo period, in the 17th and 18th centuries, Tokyo, then called Edo, was a bustling, high-energy metropolis. It was a city of laborers, merchants, and single men working long hours. They didn't have time for long, formal meals. Food stalls popped up on street corners, serving soba. It cooked in under 2 minutes. You could eat it standing up. It was cheap, it was filling, and thanks to the buckwheat, it was highly nutritious, preventing diseases like beriberi, which were common at the time due to a diet of polished white rice. Soba was the heartbeat of the working class. Even today, in modern Tokyo, the spirit of Edo lives on. You will find tachigui, or stand-and-eat soba stalls in train stations. Commuters pop in, buy a ticket from a machine, receive a bowl of hot soba, slurp it down in 4 minutes flat, and run to catch their train. It is a beautiful contradiction. Soba is a dish that takes a master 10 years to learn how to make and a customer 4 minutes to consume. So, what is soba really? It is not just a brown alternative to ramen. It is a bridge to Japan's past. It is the earthy taste of autumn harvests. It is the stubbornness of making a noodle out of a seed that refuses to cooperate. The next time you are faced with the choice between ramen, udon, and soba, remember what goes into the dark, speckled noodle. Respect the cold dip, embrace the loud slurp, and appreciate the fast food that requires a lifetime to perfect. If you want to complete your noodle knowledge, click the video on screen right now to decode the secrets of udon, or discover the real logic behind a bowl of ramen. Before you go, let me know in the comments. Are you team hot soba or team cold soba? Subscribe for more culinary clarity, and I will see you in the next video.